Here we are at the Ann Arbor Pinball Museum with another episode of Games I Should Have Never Repaired! Today's episode of Games I Should Have Never Repaired, I've got a pair of Midway 1974 Twin Pirate games that came into the shop for some repair. Two games. One is pretty serviceable. That's this one, and we've actually got it working. And then we've got another one over here that is proving to be a real bear. This is a deep dive where I'm going to discuss a lot of technical stuff. There's a lot of challenges in repairing these Midway Twin Rifle games. Because this is a light ray game, meaning that these rifles do not work necessarily on a stylus for scoring, but shoot a light beam out to photo sensors that are on the targets. Like if we look at that little pirate guy there, right in his belly, you can see he's got a photo sensor right in the middle of his belly. Likewise, this guy does too. And that's how this game scores, is using these light sensors. And these rifles are essentially big giant flashlights. In this game, I have removed the score motor and put it on the workbench. Oh, and by the way, the score motor is different in this game, Twin Pirate and Gangbusters. They used a less expensive bi-directional 120 volt motor. And in order to get that going, it requires this 5 microfarad, 115 volt capacitor that's actually rated at 350 volts, but it's 5 microfarad. That's like a startup capacitor, like on your air conditioning units. This is actually okay, but the motor is not spinning the score reels at all. If I spin this, nothing happens here. And if I spin this, nothing happens here. So I ground these 6 points off. Get this cover off. One-handed here. Okay. And now, oops, this gear goes down like that. Look, see, when these two spin, it's not spinning this guy. And the reason is, look at these teeth right by my index finger, these inside. They're all gone. They're eaten alive. Oh my God, there's nothing left. I'm in my 3D program and I drew up the gear and I'm gonna 3D print it. I think we're good to go though. It looks pretty tasty. I drew this little gear up in a little CAD program and I put it in here. And guess what? It actually works. Here I have the gearbox with my new 3D printed gear. I'm gonna go over here and hit the start relay with my big fat finger. And son of a gun, look at it go! Man, my new 3D printed gear makes that gearbox turn! Here is that motor. You can see it's working with the replacement gear. If I can score, it's kind of hard to see there. We just got it score. So the game is working with the motor with the replacement gear. Yay, yay, yay! Maybe asking yourself, why did the motor fail? Well, right here's the reason. This is the right side score reel rack out of the Twin Pirate. And what happens is we got these little leather clutches in between these metal slugs. See right here, here's the hot mess. Look at this. This has to slide against this leather washer that clearly needs some love. And then you've got these little nylon parts here that you have to get. You got to get all this stuff back together, right? This is not an easy job. I discourage people from taking this on unless they're really good at taking pictures and have a good memory. Because this is why the motor failed. Because this thing doesn't spin right, because all this stuff is all juked up. And then you end up with a bad motor with stripped gears. So you got to take this whole thing apart. There was an E-clip here. You got to clean this. This one I've cleaned up on a wire wheel. And then you got to take the little leather clutches here, take these off, and you got to oil them up because they get dried out. And I use this stuff right here, needs foot oil on the leather. And then you got to clean this side. And then you got to do that for all these too. And the trick is getting it back together right. A lot of people ask, how do I remember how to put this stuff together? Pictures are great, but all I do is I take a bolt. There's a 3/8 inch head bolt for a pinball here. And I just disassemble the parts and put them on the bolt in the exact same order. Clean them, obviously. Lubricate and try and rejuvenate the leather clutches. And then I put a nut at the end because you're always going to drop this thing. And then over here, I put the snap ring back on and I can just slide these parts over. These don't have the leather clutches. These have plastic pieces, little nylon slippers here. And I can clean those without actually taking this apart. Now I can just transfer all these parts in the same order back just right from here onto there, put it all back together. Here's the guns removed on the deck of the Twin Pirate, and here is the halogen light that's right here that shines down the barrels. This is a really unique little 30-watt halogen light bulb. These are expensive. They're about, I don't know, 20 to 30 bucks. And this one is burned out. And the gun, if you remove these two set screws, an optic sits right in here in the barrel that focuses the light down the barrel of the gun. But one of the problems with this gun is the end, was burned. You see how it's not flat? You see how it's all kind of, looks like this ocean. It's not flat at all. It's because some hooplehead burned it with a cigarette lighter. And that means that this guy will never focus a good light beam. So this rifle is, this barrel is essentially shot unless I can figure out a way to replace this. Here I have the barrel off. There's just an Allen wrench that loosens it. And then I loosen these two guys and out comes the optic. Now this part doesn't really get damaged because it's inside the barrel a fair length. It sits right here. And this is the end that's of top concern because it's accessible to the user. But you can see there is an optic. And then it has a little hole right there that the light actually shines out. And as the light comes out of that, it hits this optic, which this is the one I talked about a second ago, that is warped. Look at that. It's supposed to be flat, and you can see it clearly isn't. That's why this gun barrel or that optic at the end of the gun barrel has to be replaced, or this particular game will never shoot correctly. It'll never put a strong enough light on the optic targets to trigger them and score. Another thing that often gets overlooked, besides the lights coming out of the guns, there is also a stylus underneath for each gun. And you can adjust those forward and back, left and right. Those have to be aligned properly or things will not score. You can see the 8-track. Look, it's got the original 8-track. Woo-woo! But, this is another complication to this game. Look at the massive recoils on these things, too. The recoils are actually pretty good. But all I'm saying is if you don't get proper scoring, these stylus could get out of whack. Mostly, if you leave them alone, it should be fine, but a lot of people don't leave things alone. Now, regarding these circuit boards, I will say on these two games, I got really lucky. One game fully worked, and I could just swap boards from one game to the working game. And guess what? Both games I had working boards. I did some minor stuff. This is the 12-volt rectifier. So we got two diodes. Those were good. I did replace this capacitor. It looked sketchy to me. Somebody else has done some work. You can see right here. This diode obviously shorted and the trace on the back was burned. Somebody else repaired that. I did not have to monkey with these at all. And I am thankful because a lot of these components are really hard to get. I mean, the caps are easy to get. Their diodes are easy to get. But any of the transistors here are long obsolete. There's another little interesting tidbit. 2 different back glasses. The red one is far more rare. The blue one is far more common. The blue is cute, but I really like the red one. Happy to report that we have these 2 Midway Twin Pirates working now. I have some problems here with the guns, but if I swap the guns between the games, they're both working. The problems with these barrel lenses on the outside being warped because somebody burned them with a cigarette lighter or a cigarette butt is the problem with this game. Can't get it quite over the finish line, but it does play when I switch the rifles over to this one. So, mission accomplished!